Hey, Shalom. First off, I want to start off by saying all praises, honor, and glory due unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Crocodiles. Just all praises to who the world ignorantly calls God, and Jesus Christ, uh, in the name of the Holy Spirit. The true name for who the world calls God is Yahweh, and for his beloved Son, who the world calls Jesus Christ, his true name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. Also want to say double honors to elders and apostles of Great Millstone. In peace or mercy to the hopeful elect, preaching his word in truth and sincerity. This is the brother Tazabah with the Arizona camp, Lord Will, with another video to edify. And I'm gonna just get into these videos, man. And we'll break down some scriptures afterwards, and Lord Will is edifying.
This year, the world is facing political turmoil. Protests have become the new norm. But what does this mean for the economy in terms of cryptocurrencies? Amid global turmoil, cryptocurrency usage has spiked in some of these countries. Bitcoin volumes increased in Hong Kong, for example, where the island is reaching almost 6 months of political unrest. This was after the much disputed bill that would allow citizens to be extradited to China. And just last month, trading sites like Local Bitcoins reportedly saw its third largest weekly Bitcoin volume ever. The platform recorded a $1.42 million worth of transaction volume. Meanwhile, yellow vests in Paris are nearing a continuous year of protests. These were caused by rising fuel prices. Ecuador and Chile also followed suit.
2 Corinthians 2:11. Phone's going a little slow. Second Corinthians 2:11. Lest Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. And that's what one of Satan's devices is. It's called order out of chaos, auto ab chaos in the Latin. And that's what Esau's been using. He's using these uproars of the people and crippling economies to push forth this mark of the beast, because it's Bitcoin technology. That Bitcoin is a digital currency outside of the normal economic system. You know, that's why all these countries, that's why China had to make its own national Bitcoin. And all these countries are really going to come up with their own um, nationalized version of Bitcoin, because all your, according to prophecy, all your bank information, medical information is all going to go into that RFID microchip, which is implantable, and it'll go into your right hand or into your hand or your forehead. Honestly, it doesn't matter which hand it goes into. It can go into your butt cheek. If you take that chip, the Lord is going to put you to death. That's just scriptural, you know. And just to prove that this is we're going to play a little more on this video just to prove that this uh, 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 economic turmoil and all these social unrest are part of Esau's agenda of the order out of chaos. Repeat this.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before. I think America as a whole in 1973 and 1974, not just my view, but obviously the administration, missed the opportunity to deal with the energy crisis that was before us. For a long time, our entire energy policy came down to cheap oil. This is an opportunity. What used to be long-term problems, be they in the healthcare area, energy area, education area, fiscal area, tax area, regulatory reform area, things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must be dealt with. And this crisis provides the opportunity for us, as I would say, the opportunity to do things that you could not do before. The good news, I suppose, if you want to see a silver lining, is the problems are big enough.
This is Revelation 12:12. It says, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." And this is what he's talking about, you know. Like he said, you'd never waste a good crisis because it presents opportunities to push forward things that normally wouldn't be considered. And then, let's see if I can get him to say it again.
Before. The good news, I suppose, if you want to see a silver lining, is the problems are big enough that they lend themselves to ideas from both parties for the solution. That is also, we didn't just do the meeting, provides the opportunity for us, as I would say, the opportunity to do things that you could not do before. The good news, I suppose, if you want to see a silver lining, is the problems are big enough that they lend themselves to ideas from both parties for the solution. That is also, we didn't just do the meeting with Senator McCain and Senator Lindsey. The president did not have that meeting just for optics. We covered very serious issues as it relates to spending reforms on government approach. He brought the idea of that were long-term are now immediate and must reform area. Things that we had postponed for too long that were long-term are now immediate and must be dealt with.
You see, things that they pushed off for so long are now immediate and have to be dealt with. This is Satan pushing his agenda, the so-called white man, man. And what is his agenda? To push that RFID microchip, to push in this new world order, where everything you do will be quantified, documented, and the information will be stored. Every single little thing, So I'm gonna go back to this video.
When protesters in the two countries took to the streets to call out the increasing inequality. Now, weeks ago, a state of emergency was declared in Chile. ATMs were on lockdown, leaving many banking users without access to withdraw their funds. The demand for Bitcoin in Chile has skyrocketed this year as a result of these ongoing tensions. Now, unrest in Argentina sparked when its currency collapsed earlier this year by 30.3%. Civil unrest in Lebanon also sparked crypto enthusiasts, as the conflict led all banks in the country to shut down. The Lebanese are facing this huge crisis right now, given that over 65% of them rely on banks. Massive protests in Venezuela took place earlier this year, where tens of thousands took to the streets in dueling protests in support and opposition of the standing government under President Nicolas Maduro. Venezuelans have turned to rely heavily on Bitcoin, some using it to pay for medical costs or even food, beating gold in the hyperinflated economy.
So Revelation 13 and 16, it says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. That mark, that word for mark in the Greek goes back to the word charagma, which means an imprinted mark. When you go even further, it goes into the incision and the delivery system, the peller stake. So all these countries that are sitting there under these economic woes are turning to this Bitcoin, and really, y'all, it's a small step just to be like, you know what? If you want to use Bitcoin, you want to use these mediums and be able to buy and sell things. Here's the chip. You put it in your body. That's how we can make sure your money doesn't go missing, or you have security in your financial future. People are gonna flock to this, man, and it ought not be so. This is a so-called white man's agenda. Now I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna jump forward a little bit on this to the 3-minute mark.
All of these global protests. Is this the new norm when countries who are facing political unrest will turn to cryptocurrency?
Well, we have to remember that crypto was born in exactly this kind of unrest. It was 2008 when the white paper was released, January 2009 when Bitcoin was released to the world. There was a lot of incredulity at the time, but some smart people got in on it, and 5 years later, it started looking pretty awesome. Now here it is, 11 years later. Yes, it is now a safe haven for the world, and you need that. We've needed it for 100 years, ever since the governments around the world took over the banking system and put in question whether or not we really own our deposits. We need some independence to our wealth, and I think Bitcoin is becoming that. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies also. You mentioned Venezuela. There are many, many different cryptocurrencies that are being used there. There are now thousands of them, and they're all fungible one with each other. It's a wonderful tech.
And peep this. This is the growth of Bitcoin prices in 1 month, and this is this year. October 14th. This is where we're at. October 21st, it had a drip. October 21st, 22nd, 23rd, it had a dip. And out of nowhere, since October 28th, it reached to $9,500 for one full Bitcoin.
Technology, and I personally believe that something like a private cryptocurrency on a global basis is going to be the future of medium of exchange and stores of value.
Look, let me read. I'll just rewind it just a little bit. Listen what he says. As soon as he says, I personally believe, you got to pay attention.
And I personally believe that something like a private cryptocurrency on a global basis is going to be the future of
private cryptocurrency global basis is going to be the future of payment systems. And this is where we're headed, man. This is where we're heading. And Esau, the so-called white man, is causing unrest in all these nations to get this thing going, man. And brothers have said it many times before. And not only that, I'll play some of this.
Let's begin. This particular bank is the third case of nationalization since May. Understand what's happening here in 2019. 3 banks have failed in China. Now, you might argue, well, there weren't failures. The government just took them over. Well, if the government didn't step in, they would have collapsed entirely. This is a rapid deterioration of the situation in the financial system of China. And as China's economic and debt pain spreads, we'll see more banks going belly up. At the moment, China's non-financial debt grew by more than 15% last year to a total of 250% of their GDP. That's more than 1/4 of Chinese state-owned firms are loss-making. About 40% of new credit goes towards financing interest on old loans. And this essentially means...
You see this? This is how the entire world is panning out at this point. The entire world is going into a full-out debt-ridden society. And this is all under the so-called white man's, plan, man. 51-7. Let me get this real quick. Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, and the nations are mad. You see, what is the wine? The philosophies. How Esau gets down monetarily. Look at everybody's taking part of this man's system to the point where they've gotten loans just to pay off the interest on loans, and they keep printing money just to keep doing it all over and over again till now everybody's in such a gross amount of debt that this system is getting ready to crumble. And this is all by design, man. What does the scripture say? When the money fell in Egypt, right? You don't think people were rioting back then because of the price of how everything costs? What do you think they're rioting over there right now in China because? You got a thing. Let me see if I can look it up. Coffin Apartments. Look at this. This is how a great deal of people in China are living in these so-called coffin apartments. Not even enough room to sit here and turn over. You got to eat a can of goddamn beans. Aren't able to cook. This is how people are living in China. You know, this ain't fucking living, bro. And this is why people over there are rioting, man. Because this is how you gotta fucking live. Under a system that these damn devils done created, this is how you gotta goddamn live. And the young people, man, they've had enough, bro. They've had enough. It makes no sense that people work so hard. And these gooks, man, they over there sweating their ass off, bro. Working this damn hard to live like this, where your toilet is less than a foot away from your goddamn stove and eating area. You know? This is why the nations are mad. This is why you're seeing uproars of the people, man. It's Matthew 24. You know what? I'm gonna get this first. Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2 and 6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say," let me get this in the blue letter on my phone, so I get that word for Clay in a second. Habakkuk 2 and 6 again. It says, "So now all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, Woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that elateth himself with thick clay." Now that word for thick clay is abat, abatya, abat, I, ba, abatya, abatya. It says, weight of pledges, heavy debt. Now, aren't all these nations in doing this? Now, what's more is the scriptures talk about Moab sitting here following the same suit as Esau, Edom, man. 2nd Ezra 15 and 46. It says, "And thou Asia, that art partaker in the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person, partaker in the hope of it." Meaning they're getting down in the same way. They believe that the way they did it was right. Verse 47, "Woe unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her, and hast decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please the glory of thy lovers, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee." You see, these Moabites, these so-called Chinese, and a lot of these other countries have talked in the same suit. And now they're saying, "Oh man, we've got ourselves into a hole." So all these people around the world are sitting here writing, man. 2nd Ezra 15 and 16 or 14. "Woe unto them that dwell in the world, for the sword and the destruction draw nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." And that's what you're seeing all globally, man. You got these Chinese sitting here making mischief, uh, uh, makeshift slingshots, powerful ones at that, with surgical tube, PCB pipes. They put an armrest on these things, and they're sitting there launching Molotov cocktails at the police, burning people up. Over there in Chile, you got people popping off. Bolivia, uh, 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 Iraq, Iran. You got the yellow vests in France. A full year of protesting with that. This is Bible prophecy, man. Verse 16: For there should be a sedition among men, and invading one another. They should not regard their kings or princes. So the sedition is that great tribulation, that trouble, that uprising of the people, man. That's what you're seeing globally. This is all Bible prophecy. This is how we know that the times are going to get way more wicked, because at some point, all this is going to come to America. America is not untouchable. The scriptures tell you that that great horse shall no longer be called tender and delicate. America, Babylon the Great. That whore that was called tender and delicate, because she was never truly invaded with war. It says, verse 16 again, it says, For there should be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their princes. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. Hey, everybody's taking it up in their own hands, man. People are pissed. And this is how we know that those people in the land of Israel aren't the real Israelites, because the scriptures tell you when Israel goes back into their land, there shall be wars no more. And there's still wars and economic woes going on in the world. So how can those be the true people of the Lord, man? It's got to follow prophecy. Matthew 24:6. It says, And ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And this is what we're seeing, man. All these are the beginning of sorrows, man. So this stuff is just barely getting started. You know, this coming year, there are already economists saying they predict economic collapse. And let me see if I can find an article on collapse in 2020, in the first quarter of 2020. Let's see if I can find a good one. Look at that. Man, I wonder. See this. There's been, and I wish I remember what the video was. It was an RT video where it's saying like all these economic experts, these economists believe that there'll be a recession within the first quarter of 2020. See, it says there is a tendency for the institution that missed the warning signs before the last financial crisis to overcook their dooms, doomsayers' warnings as they consider the potential for another one. The International Monetary Fund leads a group of gloomy forecasters that worry about the stability of the global economy amid rising debt levels and the slowing GDP growth. How long, they ask, can the expansion seen since the last crash go before another recession hits? And if a global recession is pushed further into the future by even larger dollops of borrowed money from the financial systems, will the next recession quickly become a crash of similar or even larger proportion than the one seen in 2008? 2008 was a big year, man. You had the housing bubble debt, the housing bubble popped. You had to have a lot of quantitative easing. You had a lot of banks that had to get bank bailouts. Car institutions had to get bailouts. It was a big year for economic woes, man. A lot of people lost jobs. Some analysts argue that such gloomy warnings ignore the precedent seen in recent years that the major economies tend to start the year very slow before getting into gear later on. That is especially true in 2016, when most of the developed world saw only a small lift in GDP in the first quarter before the growth took off. Now, mind you, what is this, 2, 3 months ago, they lost all of their when the stock market crashed like 666 points. Um that literally was the loss of all the how do I say it growth for the entire year to that point. And I haven't looked at it recently, but you can just imagine, man. And this economy has not been doing well. All these sanctions, gas prices all fluctuating how they are. It's not looking good. It says as 2019 gets underway, things look very different. Consumer debt has risen back to uh, pre-crisis levels in many countries. Corporate borrowing has soared in governments, while they have reduced annual deficits, continue to sit on mountains of debt that dwarf uh, the borrowing seen before the crisis. So it's looking exactly the same. Everything's looking exactly the same. It says, that's all I'm gonna get on that. See, this is what we're seeing now, man. This is how real it's getting. All this stuff, all these economic woes, man, people are gonna start flipping soon, man. What's gonna happen when you got the people that are sitting here living like this, that work hella hard, when they go into these banks and the bank is sitting there saying, we can't give you any money, but you done worked all week long, and now it's time to sit here and pay bills, and they're not letting you get your money that you worked so hard for. It's only a matter of time, man. Only a matter of time. So Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to say Kal Halal, Yahal Bashim Al Shai, Bashim Rakakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and mercy to a hopeful elect. Hey, Shalom.